Okay, we're back, and we're going to take a brief look at the rules of accentuation for nouns. You see up here I have the word rules in scare quotes, and that's because we're not really giving rules for these especially. The basic idea for nouns is that the accentuation is persistent, which means that you establish where the word is accentuated from the basic dictionary form, in this case the word hora or horos in the genitive, which is the word for hour. You see here that it's accentuated, forget the breathing mark for a second, it's accentuated on the first syllable, the omega, hora. Okay, so generally speaking, the rules of accentuation call for that accent being preserved all throughout the forms. Okay, the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, the nominative. Now notice with genitive plural, this is an exception. You'll typically find in first declension nouns instead the circumflex accent over the own there at the end. Okay, that's just a common feature that you see. You'll get very used to it in time because it's a very common form that appears a lot. But you'll see a circumflex there. That's the one place where the persistent accent isn't really persistent. But it does persist through the dative and the accusative. All right. And then we'll see the same thing with phone, the word for voice or sound. Notice it persists there. See the accent over the last syllable here, and the dative as well. The accusative, okay, the plurals as well, same place. Now notice also that when you accent the last syllable, typically, very often you'll see a circumflex in the genitive and dative, both singular and plural, and indeed you see that here. Okay, that's again another thing that you'll notice. All right, but so just keep in mind it's fairly regular. The way you know how this is accented, though, is not because of any rule inherent in the language itself that tells you this. You just have to memorize the vocab word. You remember phone is accent in the last syllable. Okay, and therefore phone that accentuation pattern is basically preserved throughout the forms. Okay, doxa, same idea. All right, another feminine mixed declension. This is the mixed alpha eta stem. Doxa, doxase. See that in every case here the omicron is accentuated except when you get to the genitive plural, and then you have that pattern with the circumflexed over the omega. All right. Now, second declension nouns are similar. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. I don't think we'll get these for a couple more chapters, but we might as well at least now look at the accentuation pattern because we'll get it soon enough. Here you see, in this case, this particular word has an accent on the penultimate syllable, this omicron. Logos, that's the word, as you may know, for word. Okay, logos, logu, notice the accent preserves. Okay, it keeps that same place all throughout, except as you might expect in the genitive plural. Okay, same deal again, basically with ergon. This is a neuter second declension. That's the word for work, ergon, ergu. Notice that the accent again stays on the first syllable all throughout the forms. Okay, now for some reason with second declension neuters, sometimes you don't get the circumflex over the omega. Don't ask me why, you just don't. Okay, so but again, don't worry terribly much about these rules. Okay, just learn the basic idea that the accent is persistent and that the only real way to know how a word's going to be accented is to know the form itself, the word itself, with the vocab. Okay, now with nouns, I don't really hold you responsible for accents. Okay, it's not that big a deal if, for instance, you put the accent phone like over the omega as opposed to the eta. Okay, I'm not going to make a big issue of that. I make mistakes with that myself, so I certainly can't expect you to get them all right either. That's not a tremendously important part. The basic idea is now, at this point, just so you know how more or less the accent system works for nouns. Okay, it's a little bit different than for verbs. Okay, well with that, we will stop, and then I will continue now next week when we get into lesson 3. Okay, see ya.